I'm Santa, and I endorse this product or service.
Santa's laughter mocks the poor, it's Christmas time again. You hear it in the songs of joy promoting fiscal gain. You see it in the credit cards that plaster down the drain. Cause Santa's laughter mocks the poor, and here it comes again. Santa's laughter mocks the poor, it echoes in the night. A nagging sound that makes you wonder if you got it right. Everybody lies awake and thinks there's more to life, but Santa's laughter mocks the poor.
Welcome to this very special episode of Blokebusters. For this Christmas special, we decided we would team up with another podcast, namely Back to the Podcast, to give you 4 hosts for the price of 2. Now, not only did we lose the coin flip, so we didn't get to do the intro on the show, but we also forgot to record something afterwards, so I'm the one doing this by myself. So I have the pleasure of introducing to you our very special Christmas podcast. Enjoy.
Well, dear listeners, it's come to that very special point in the podcast where we're going to introduce you to our special feature for the Christmas bonus that you're getting this year. And I'd like to say a very, very big welcome over to the USA and welcome Paul and Brian from Blokebusters. Hi, guys.
Hey!
All right, so let me get this right. So you guys have been doing a whole series of podcasts. Bear's been following these and telling me about these as well. And it sounds like we're into some very interesting films between the pair of us. And it seems like we have some very similar films that we've been following. And, you know, there's a lot going on in the scene over there. Whereabouts are you guys based in the US?
Brian, do you want to...
We're in central Ohio, Midwest US, if you need it broadened out more than that.
Yeah.
So you're right in the middle of things. Is it really frigging cold and snowing? Is it a good time to be going to the cinema and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's quite miserable.
Well, fantastic, because, I mean, basically we're here to talk about movies, so this is a good thing for us, because we're in a similar situation over here. So this is all good. So, okay, so Christmas special, here we are. So really big welcome to Blokebusters. And before we go any further, guys, why don't you go ahead and tell us, for anyone that's listening from our fans, if they want to find your podcast, how do they find you on the internet?
Alright, well, I guess I'll cover this one, since I normally do. Well, we're on Twitter at Blokebusters. I always hate the at there, but whatever. No way of getting around that. We're on Facebook. Just search for Blokebusters. You'll find us there. You can email us if you like at blokebusterpodcast, there's no S in there because I messed it up when I set it up, at gmail.com. And we've also got a website that I kind of fiddle with, but to be honest I'm not very good at it, and it's blokebusters.webs, webs.com. And so kind of got a little web presence there. So.
Fantastic, right? Okay, so that's how you can find the guys from the US connection that we have now over there. And Bear, what about our details for anyone that's listening from the Blokebusters fan base?
Yeah, so for us, it's always the same. It's pretty much the same as yours, really. Just search Back to the Podcast on the Facebook bar. Twitter's the same, Back to the Podcast, although the 2 is a number, which is always annoying because I ran out of letters. And we don't have a website, unfortunately, so you're one up on us.
Well, I could recommend the website. It's quite good.
Okay,
awesome.
So anyway, we came here, gentlemen, today to make a podcast about what's going on in the cinema at the moment. This is the Christmas special, so let's have a listen then. Let's start off and we'll talk a little bit about the hot news over here from the UK cinema scene. Bear, do you want to go first on this one?
I'm going to go first on this one because
go,
I'm really excited about the return of Sherlock. I don't know if you guys have been watching this out in the States.
Oh, yes.
We are quite obsessed, yeah.
All right.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, anyway, we got series 3 of Sherlock to look forward to. In the UK, it airs on New Year's Day, the 1st. I think you get it a few weeks later, don't you, on the 19th or something?
Is that the one time we're actually screwing over America on this whole release thing?
I think so. Well, it's an English thing, isn't it?
Right.
But yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to the first episode, The Empty Hearse. It's looking like it's going to be really, really good. There's a few sort of teaser trailers come out already that don't really give us much clue, but obviously we know he's alive. We knew that at the end of the last series. We know that, I mean, these aren't really spoilers because they're all just kind of assumptions, but there's been a lot of talk about what's possibly going to happen in the new episode. So obviously, if you'd rather not hear absolutely anything, any listeners, then it's probably not for you. But they're not spoilers because I don't know, nothing's confirmed. But at the moment, it's looking like it's going to be sort of set 2 years after the last episode. John Watson sort of moved on. He's potentially found love and, you know, found new sort of ventures. And it looks like they've tried to modernise it by bringing in a sort of a threat of terrorism. That's literally all I know. I don't know any details, but it looks like they're sort of trying to bring it into a modern age. Apart from that, I just cannot wait for this series. I've been waiting 2 years for this next episode, and the way it ended last time, I was like, you bastards for leaving me like that for 2 years.
So is the buzz the same over in the US about this, guys?
Well, I would say that it's probably not as big over here, but you do have the same sort of fan base type.
Yeah,
thing.
I try to turn everyone on to it that I encounter.
it's fantastic.
Whether they're willing to hear it or not, no, they're going to hear it.
God damn it, hold them down and tell them the truth.
I will say that you did forget the most important detail about the new series, which is John Watson's moustache.
I know. It's the thing is, it looks like it's the first thing that I've seen where they're looking like they're trying to go traditional Sherlock, you know, with bringing in that sort of. He'll have the cane next, and I'm like, it might be too far for me, but it was, or it might just be Movember thing. I don't know. we don't know.
God love Movember.
Yeah, I saw a thing online which was just a mock-up thing someone put of Sherlock coming back, and it's just John Watson seeing Sherlock. Sherlock, you're back, and just ... from Sherlock. What's wrong? What the fuck is with that moustache?
Yeah. The thing is, all the rumours I've been reading says that he's not going to disappoint in the way he comes back. It's going to be very theatrical, the way he likes. So I'm very excited about that. But my assumption, I think this could potentially be the last series as well. I've literally no material to back that up on, but I'm just assuming that looking at what these episodes are based on, the sort of the motif words that they give at the beginning of each series. They say this series is going to be based around these 3 words, which they always do. If you don't know, these 3 episodes, I've written them down somewhere, hold on. Rat, wedding and bow are the 3 words dedicated to these 3 episodes. And I just think that, and the fact that the last episode is called His Last Vow, and the fact that the 2 actors are becoming much, bigger and bigger and bigger every single month, more and more films. I think this could potentially be a sort of a sign off for the series, which would be very sad, but I hope it doesn't disappoint.
And I'm actually, I'm quite okay with that, given the high quality of those episodes. I would rather see them make these great episodes rather than continue it on and jump the shark like so many US series do.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well,
yeah,
bless you for saying that. So your pathway into heaven is guaranteed with you saying that on the air.
I might be deported after that, but
okay. Oh, never mind that details. So the only other thing I wanted to just chat about very quickly is I just picked up on the UK cinema scene over here, courtesy of the Guardian newspaper, was just that it looks like they're making a bit more progress with the construction behind the scenes for the forthcoming Star Wars movie that's going to be made, the next episode. So they've been building a Millennium Falcon, which might suggest closer links to the Harrison Ford character coming back into play, and of course the beloved Millennium Falcon, which is just a wonderful piece of kit anyway. So there's a little bit of a thing going on there. So that seems to be, moving. And I think we're all hoping over here that the whole Star Wars thing is going to move in a really tasteful and in the right direction, because we just don't want it to be another car crash. We just can't have that again. I think there'll be too much anger. If it goes.
I'm comfortable with JJ at the helm.
Yeah, I feel a hell of a lot better with JJ at the helm. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the giant rat that's behind the wheel ultimately. It is part of the big Disney empire, so I'm just kind of a little bit twitchy about that at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be a Disney Star Wars with plenty of lens flare.
I'm going for the lens flare, and I'll stay for a good film. But
see, for me personally, as much as we all love the Millennium Falcon, hearing that they're trying to bring that in actually worries me more than excites me, because I just don't want to see 20 years after Return of the Jedi, like they're all a bit older, they're all a bit more frail, they're all a bit slow. I kind of want to see a completely new story, like make it 100 years in the future, and just use the universe they've created, the Force, the Jedi and stuff, and create new characters. But by saying they're going to be bringing in the Millennium Falcon and Harrison Ford, it just sounds like they're just going to kind of continue on the old story, and I'm not sure if I'm really up for that. I might be on my own with that one, but
well, I don't know, because they were. You remember originally they wanted to kill him off, and so there could be something in that. So I don't know. I mean, obviously we've got a long way to go yet. They're still doing the auditions for some of the main parts, from what I've heard in the papers and stuff. So, but it's something we're watching very, very closely. And remember, Hollywood, if you're listening to this, that it is only up the road from where my bear and myself live, and we will come up there and fucking take a flamethrower to that place if you screw this up. Right? We're quite happy to do that. So if you tell us if this goes into a cake and arse party, we are on our way in a car. Okay, now that's the hot news from the UK scene, gentlemen. What's happening in the USA?
All right. Do you want to go over your stuff first, there, Brian?
Sure, yeah, I can go for that. If anyone's aware of Interstellar, Nolan's new work, that will be a trailer will be premiering at the next Hobbit film. So if you're on the fence about going to see The Hobbit, at least you get a look at Interstellar. So I wanted to bring that up because I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Any thoughts on that, Paul? Or
Well, I'm hoping it'll be the same kind of thing as Inception, where you heard absolutely nothing, and then, oh look, here's the film, here it is, wow, this is bloody good. So I'm hoping it's going to be the same sort of thing. I do know you said it was on a subject that isn't necessarily near and dear to your heart, time travel.
Time travel, I have my issues, well-documented issues with time travel films. Yeah. But in the hands of Nolan, I will give it a pass, and until I'm proven right.
It'll look good at the very least.
It will look amazing, it'll have great acting, I know that.
And Christopher Nolan is behind that. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So we have pretty high expectations of this film, given what this man does for a living. So, I mean, okay. So all right. Okay. So the hot news is there's no hot news, but we're pretty excited about this thing.
No, I was just leading up. That was your appetizer. That was your starter. Yeah. That was your starter. Now for the mains.
Let's go for it.
Paul? You have a big one there, I think.
Well, I was just going to say. Wolf of Wall Street, the new Scorsese film, they just announced they had to cut 3 minutes worth of sexual content to avoid what is over here the NC-17 rating, which if you get the NC-17 rating, you basically can't show the film in almost all main cinemas because they don't want to play films that only people over the age of 18 can go and see. However,
but in this modern day, it's going to be on the Blu-ray and it'll be on the.
Yeah, you will get to see.
So
that
rest
eventually.
easy, pervs. You'll get to see the extra 3 minutes.
And yet, even with the cuts, it's still going to be the longest Scorsese film that he's ever made.
2 hours.
No way.
2 hours 59 minutes or something. Is that right? 2 hours 59.
Yeah,
like
just under 3 hours before you put the credits in.
Man.
Wow.
I don't think I could do that at a cinema, personally.
I tell you, that's one of those ones where I would value an intermission, quite frankly.
Yeah, they should bring those back.
Those are fun. Yeah, you get a chance to go out to the lobby. Yeah, have a smoke. Whatever. Yeah.
I get too uncomfortable in long films, man, and 3 hours sitting in an uncomfortable chair surrounded by other people's food doesn't really appeal to me, But
I will say that over here, the cinema fairly close to us has just installed all of these lovely reclining seats.
Yes, one of our sponsors, Marcus Theaters. Thank you, Marcus.
So it seats, and when I say reclining, I mean there's a motor in it. You press it, the thing goes back, your feet will come up. You can lie down and watch the film. So that might actually make it a little bit easier.
Well, that's got us tempted. That we're very jealous of that because we're just going to the old school Odeon down the road, which is just
the odious, as I like to call it.
And also, I didn't know if you gentlemen were aware. Jurassic World. Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have.
So we were talking about this earlier. Yes. Can I please, Brian? Can I please use the word? Can I say the word reboot?
Yeah, well, apparently they don't like that word reboot.
This is what we're just.
As we're looking into this, they're like, no, it's not a reboot. No, it's apparently 22 years after the events on Isla Nublar.
Apparently has nothing to do with dinosaurs. Nothing at all to do with dinosaurs.
No.
Isn't it
There will be no dinosaurs in this movie. No dinosaurs.
What's that?
Isn't it about 22 years
That's
after
what. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yes, sir.
So it's
modern day.
It's almost a modern day continuation of something that might have happened in the past, but we're not touching on it
Will
at all.
Goldblum be in it? Will Goldblum be in it? I don't know.
In no way are they trying to reboot the... Anyway.
I don't know. Quentin Tarantino, he's doing another Western. That's what I have.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a sequel to Django, but another Western because he loves the genre. But.
And I'd just like to say I have no problem with that. I was enjoying the Django film a hell of a lot. We gave it a very positive review over here on Back to the Podcast, and so whatever he's up to. I mean, generally, I think Tarantino in general is I'll keep a tab on him all the time, and I will watch the movies he makes because I just think there's some real quality in there. Some really different stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, the only other things I had written down as well, talking of reboots, The Mummy is going to get a reboot in 2016.
Oh, because
Really?
a much needed
Yeah.
much needed reboot.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like enough time has passed since the last few to really warrant a reboot more than just a glorified sequel, surely.
I know, goddammit, the bandages have only just come back from the dry cleaners.
I know. Yeah, and I have no idea of any of the actual details of it. I just saw that it was being rebooted, and I thought either they're going to have Brendan Fraser come back and then just sort of die off very quickly and then be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a completely separate film, or they're just going to go with entirely new actors, in which case, really, what is the point?
I don't. Yeah. I will not be the first in line for that film. That's all I will say.
I mean, I was chatting to Byron right before we hit record about the Terminator films, because this is the one that really confuses me, because they keep coming out in the news about talking about Terminator 5, and they're referring to it as Terminator 5, and they're talking about the director. It's probably going to be Alan Taylor, I think, from Thor 2. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's on board, and they're casting the sort of Sarah Connor, but they keep referring to it as a reboot. And I think, well, it can't really be Terminator 5 if it's continuing the story, if it's a reboot. But so it's either one or the other, surely, and especially that franchise, because it's all about ducking and diving in and out of time and stuff. So I'm not really sure where they're going with that, but I do like the Terminator franchise. I think that would be an interesting one to go and see if they do it well, if they get the right people behind it.
Yeah, I thought that Terminator Salvation was the reboot, and then you could continue from that. But so that they've rebooted it, and now they're gonna reboot it again.
The first reboot didn't take.
No.
Yeah. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yes, I do. Are we sure it's plugged in?
Oh dear. Well, gentlemen, I think it's time to have a look at what is going in the Christmas stocking this year. What are the DVDs that are going into the Christmas stocking? Bear, do you want to throw what's in there?
Oh, mine are fairly basic. I mean, I think I did this last year where I did a Pixar. I went to see Monsters University at the cinema and really, really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we didn't podcast it, but I just think they're just Pixar have always. Perhaps it's my generation, but they've always just seem to be that perfect film for everyone. The kids love it, the family loves it, and there's a lot of jokes for the adults in there as well. I was saying to Byron, actually, I recently watched The Internship, which is that story about Google, and I found that it was all right. It wasn't great, but there was a few laughable moments in it. But I've actually found that it's pretty much the exact same story as Monsters University, except one's in a university and one's in Google, but The Internship doesn't do it anywhere near as well, right. And it's much better, executed in Monsters University. So I'd go with that. The other one I wanted to mention was now Breaking Bad's finished, and we've just finished our Breaking Bad podcast. Like suddenly you're seeing all the complete Breaking Bad DVD collections, Blu-ray collections, and all. And I mean, it's not really much of a Christmas thing. You can't watch it with your family, but
more to the point, how the fuck are you going to get it into a stocking? It's fucking huge.
I would be well up for buying the complete collection and watching all that again. Now it's all finished, and watching it with fresh eyes and a second opinion sort of thing.
I will actually say on that, over here they're bringing out a Blu-ray complete box set which comes in a container the shape of a barrel of stuff.
And you also get your own meth kit.
Wow, they've got everything.
It's like $3,000, but it's so worth it. So you can start your own, blue meth at home.
Yeah.
So it's very thoughtful.
I mean, that's very festive as well. That was a very good idea. But the thing I like about Monsters University is that it's actually a proper good Christmas one, because you can put that on, and as Bear, as you said, no matter who's there, you can watch that with everyone around. No matter who's there, they can all sit down and watch Monsters University. Because in the Christmas stocking, I was going to put in the first season of Game of Thrones, which, as we all know, is full of cocks and violence. Now, you can't watch that with Grandma.
And violent cocks.
Yeah, violent cocks. There's no way in hell you can watch that with the family around. So that was my take, Game of Thrones. Guys, what about you? What's in the stocking this year?
Well, I'll go further for this one then. I've actually just gone with your fairly basic stuff. I would love to get myself Pacific Rim in the stocking. And
Here you go, sir.
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm with you on that.
I brought over a Pacific Rim for him to borrow.
There we go. Right, and it's just because I enjoyed it so much in the cinema, and I'm sure sitting at home just watching giant robots fighting giant monsters, you can't really go wrong with that.
It's pure
I
escapism for
concur,
Christmas,
sir.
and we all want to escape at Christmas time, so...
And my other one was, I've actually got something. It was given to me early because I gave my wife an early present. It's the Men in Black 3-film box set, which came with a bobble-headed coffee alien. So
Nice.
I was very happy with that myself. I know that the second film got a lot of flack, but the first and the third film are still fairly good. So that's my choices anyway.
Yeah, I got a few top picks for my from the year. Star Trek Into Darkness. That's good for anyone. The World's End, obviously, which I just picked up. So so these aren't gift ideas, Mom, but just to let you know. The Dark Knight 3-pack. I think if you need to,
I've got that.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
And also, if you really need to buy the love of someone near you and dear to you, the Mel Brooks box set, which good luck getting that into a stocking, but it's quite amazing. So lots and lots and lots of extras on that. That's all I had.
Loads of good stuff. Okay, well that concludes the what's in the Christmas stocking. So gift ideas, listeners, you've got some ideas there. Let's have a look now. 2014. There's some movies that are going to be coming up. Some of them we're looking forward to. Some of them we're dreading. Blokecast, what the hell are you dreading, or what are you looking forward to?
All right. Well, I think we do have slightly separate lists here. I would like to take this point actually to say that we have dedicated this podcast, and specifically this part of the podcast, to the very unfortunate Paul Walker, who, as of the date of this record, died yesterday in a tragic car crash. So, a very unfortunate thing there, because he was a very good actor, and even though he was involved in a series of films that some say might have gone on too long. One of them might have been on our list before we did this, I don't know.
I might have crossed off one, yes.
Yeah. But even so, we would like to give out our sympathies to friends and family.
All right.
But yes, going into, I think, let's start with the good after that. I had written down The Monuments Men coming out in February.
Yes.
Very
Mr.
looking
Clooney.
forward to this. I'm looking forward to it mainly because I've realised that I actually like history films done well recently after seeing Lincoln and some of the other films there. And I think The Monument Men can be a very good look at the sort of stuff that happened almost behind the scenes, as it were, during the Second World War. And I'm sure that myself and Brian
I'm expecting it to be good. I'm not expecting it to make any great chances. I think it's just going to be crowd-pleasing, which there's nothing wrong with those sorts of films. But I do think it will be enjoyable.
Oh, yes. Very, very sure it'll be enjoyable. I am actually looking forward to the sequel to 300, the Rise of
301, I believe. They added one more Spartan. That would have made the difference.
I literally heard about this for the first time today, and I didn't even know it was in the pipeline at all to be making a new film. So this sounds quite interesting, yeah. But I think I'm with you. I think I'd quite like to see that.
Yeah, I think based on what I can remember, it's dealing more with learning about the Persian king and some of the other battles that happened around that time. So
Now, has he added any more piercings in this time?
maybe he might.
Maybe.
He might have added...
we may not be able to see on film.
Well,
but
yeah.
yes. Okay.
Well, it
All right.
depends. Maybe if it airs on HBO, they might have a
Okay,
secret
gotcha.
thing in
All
it.
right.
Oh, well. It's one of those rare times, isn't it, where it's okay to watch very muscular men oiled up with swords. It's okay then, isn't it? It's all right.
One of. What?
Yeah, it's one of those arguments that people have. It's art. Therefore, there's absolutely nothing smutty whatsoever about it.
No. Okay. Do you have? Continue on, sir.
Well, I'll run through these a little quickly. Then I had obviously the next Captain America film, The Winter Soldier. I saw a trailer for that a couple of days ago. Looked like it's basically a continuation of Captain America. So always interested in more of the Marvel stuff. The Hobbit 3, I think, obviously the next Hobbit's coming out this Christmas. I'm sure The Hobbit 3 will be coming out the following Christmas, so we'll have stuff to watch at Christmas time. Sin City 2. I loved Sin City, and I cannot wait for this one, which probably means I'm going to be disappointed, but I really want to see this film. So,
I think the thing that interests me about Sin City is it's been quite quiet. It's been off the radar for quite a while. Like they when the first film came out, I'm with you. Like absolutely loved that first film. Thought it was fantastic. And they were rumouring a couple of sequels for so long, and it seemed like they could never quite get there, you know, with the funding or with the writing or anything. And now they've actually made one, but you'd think there'd be more, because I think I wrote down, can't remember if I wrote down the release there. I don't know if anyone's got it to hand, but it's been quite quiet up until now, and it's only a few pictures on IMDb and not really many, you know, not many people talking about it.
I can give you two good reasons why I think this film is going to be a success and there's going to be a force for good. Okay, here's the two reasons. One, they have taken their time over it. They haven't tried to rush it and just churn it out for the sake of churning the Hollywood machine. And the second reason is Robert Rodriguez. This guy, he's not afraid to make an 18, and I really respect that.
And of course, being friends with Quentin Tarantino, maybe he'll be in for another $1 paycheck to direct a scene, like in the first one.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure it'll be good. I'm hoping it's going to follow, like I said earlier, with Inception, you heard nothing about it, and then it was just out, and it was great. I'm hoping it's another thing of they don't give you any of the details of it, because they've just been working on it, they've been keeping it under wraps, and then they just release it for everyone to see, and that's normally a good thing.
That's very much what I'm hoping. I always find that in Hollywood especially, no news is good news. You know, the ones you know the least about are the ones that actually come up and go, holy crap, where did that come from? You know, really surprise you, you know. So yeah, very, very excited about that one.
Well, and the last one I had on my good list was the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is
definitely
basically following on with that, and it should feature the Collector, which you saw in a mid-credit sequence in Thor 2, who played...
Unfortunately, I haven't seen...
I have not seen Thor 2 yet.
I missed Thor 2, as did Byron, so you're on your own with this one.
Well, basically, go and see Thor 2 and watch the mid-credit sequence, and then think this guy is going to be a major player in the next film, especially given who they chose to play it and what he looks like. It's going to be a very interesting film.
Fair enough.
So,
all right.
Brian, what's on your...
I'm just going to run through mine real quick. I had Sin City on there, as well as The Hobbit, so I won't go into those. Cesar Chavez. I'm really looking forward to this film. I don't know if anyone's aware of this.
I don't know that one.
Okay, it's not a straight biopic from what I understand, but it is taking his life and, you know, a fiction, you know, just punching it up a little bit, I guess. But it is directed by Diego Luna, who I'm not super familiar with. Michael Pena is in it, who I'm a big fan of. So looking to that, I'm a big history buff, so Cesar Chavez, looking forward to that. Interstellar, as I previously mentioned.
Yes.
And then, as is everyone, I'm sure, Dumb and Dumber 2. T.O.
Definitely. T.O., yeah, with you on that. 20 years on from the original, and it's the same directors, isn't it? It's Farrelly Brothers.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, so obviously a seminal film in my childhood. So looking forward to that, and we won't discuss Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
That's all I had.
Yeah. All right.
Pass it to you guys.
Well, do you guys want to do your good ones now, or should we do our bad and then?
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly, before we go on with our good ones, like, I just wanted to mention, because the reason I'm glad you said the Marvel ones, because I'm a bit more of a Marvel geek than Byron, but I've been excited about how they're going to do this sort of what they keep referring to as this Phase 2 thing. You know, like we had the sort of the Phase 1, the film, the Origins films, and then into the Avengers, and then everyone was kind of a bit confused about how are you going to carry this on. And I think that's going to come down to this Guardian of the Galaxy film. I think that's going to kind of make or break the sort of this Phase 2 section, and it's very much going to have a good go for Avengers 2 or not if it's not any good. So I'm very excited to see what they do with that. The one you didn't mention that I was hoping you would was their X-Men Days of Future Past, which is
nearly wrote that down, but
I was thinking right.
I'm on the fence on that.
Yeah. It
really?
Yeah.
Could be good having all of those actors in it. You'll have brilliant acting. I guess it just depends on how it all comes together in the end.
Well, the X-Men films, by and large, for me, have been inconsistent. And
I agree. I mean, there's been a few.
They're like the Star Trek
ones and a few great
the
ones.
evens and the odds.
Yeah.
You get a great one, and then you get shit.
I'm just more excited about the fact that the Days of the Future Past storyline from the comics was a very I'm impressed that they've taken that storyline onto film, you know, because they could have gone 1,000 ways with the new X-Men film, and I'm glad they went that way and decided to spend the money and get the entire cast involved into it. And I have to say that I think the trailers look like it's going to be a good one. It's got a May release date, so they're obviously hoping for a sort of a big budget, you know, in the start of the summer. Guardians of the Galaxy obviously got the big August date, and I'm surprised that I thought it'd be the other way around, but there you go. So yeah, X-Men was one that I was very excited about.
I do have to say that with the X-Men thing, I was somewhat I was looking forward to it, but then I thought about it, and I have a slight problem with them merging the two sort of storylines together, if only because Patrick Stewart, in the third film, you saw him walking when he met a young Jean Grey, and then at the end of the X-Men First Class, he got paralyzed on that beach.
True.
So how are they going to put those two together, that he's paralyzed yet he can walk? I don't get it.
I think a lot of people would like to see that third film buried at the bottom of the ocean.
I will sign that. I will sign that petition.
I'm wondering if the directors kind of decided to go along the same route and just go, do you know what? Third film, fuck it. Let's forget it ever happened, and let's just go with what the good that we created. Byron, let's hear one from you.
Oh my god! Oh Jesus! Okay, well, okay. I'm looking forward to a series that I stumbled upon in my childhood, which kind of just was on TV, and I remember taping it and watching it and just seeing how sort of like, I don't know how interesting it was. And as I grew up, I rewatched it again, and it just seems to be the more interesting it becomes as you watch it. And I'm referring to the whole saga of Planet of the Apes. And there's just sort of really some interesting sort of political things going on there as well, and the kind of message they were trying to give when they were doing the original films. And of course now we're getting, and the next remake is coming out for July, which is going to be Dawn of Planet of the Apes. So I'm kind of interested to see where they're going to take this, where this is going to be leading, you know, in terms of the next sort of episode of things. I was really concerned when they did the last Planet of the Apes sort of remake, when I just thought, well, you know, how is it going to look? You know, how are the apes going to look? How are they going to be able to do them really well and tastefully? Or is it just going to look very cheesy and bad? And is it going to be awful? And I just think it turned out fantastically well. So now I'm very interested to see what's coming next for us, you know?
I'd be inclined to agree with you on that, because if the last film hadn't been as good as it was, this would be in my not looking forward to list. Because this is like what we're talking about, where we're not sure if it's a reboot or a remake. You know, like with the original Planet of the Apes, then they went on and made sort of 5 sequels or something, which did sort of explain did do the whole prequel thing and explain where they come from, and that's essentially what they're doing here. So there's not massive original material here. It was only because the first film was so fantastic. Not the first, the one before was so fantastic. I think this one could be on for a winner. And a great cast. Gary Oldman's in it. Andy Serkis returns to play Caesar and a few other apes. And I can't remember the name of the director, but it's a good name they've got on board. So yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed it's going to be a good one. Okay, so those are all the good things. Now, of course, as you know, we all like good things, but usually there are a few little clouds on the horizon. Shall we talk about those now, gentlemen?
Please. Sure. This is what I've been waiting all podcast.
Yeah. This is the one we should save all the time.
Let me get my soapbox out. Okay.
Okie dokie.
All right, well, God. I think Brian should go first then.
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit. All right. I will steer clear. I know you mentioned a couple that you want to go into, Paul. Might be shocking to some. RoboCop at the top of my list.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love the first film. I love Peter Weller, and I just can't imagine topping that film, and I just think it's going to steer completely off course. I don't know. I might be surprised. I mean, I heard that they aren't going to make it as violent, which that was the social commentary, was it needed to be ultra violent. And so removing that, I don't know what you're left with. But
I remember when I watched the RoboCop. Sorry to interrupt you guys. I remember when I
watched
you're good. The RoboCop the first time. It was, it really was quite a gory film, and also it was kind of almost borderline in terms of horror, in the same way that when you watch Alien, it goes across from science fiction into horror, in terms of it kind of shocks you a couple times, particularly when the Ed 209 creature kind of machine was on there. And I thought, it's such an unpredictable killing machine. It was actually kind of quite fearful and scary to watch this thing. So when I heard again, exactly like you said, Brian, they're bringing back RoboCop, but they're going to try to make it a rating of whatever PG-12, whatever the hell they're trying to do. I thought, oh god.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you. To be honest, I was completely with you on for the whole time they were announcing this film. My only glimmer of light was when they released the trailer. I thought, you know what, this actually. Part of this looks like it could be okay. I'm with you on the violence. I don't see how you can make RoboCop a 12, but whatever they've done it, so it's either gonna be shit or not. But the thing that's the silver lining for me is the cast, because they've got quite a decent cast onto it. And this is where me and Byron disagreed, that when I watched the trailer, it looked like they kind of tried to keep some of the sort of, what's the word, like the tongue-in-cheekness of it, the reason we love RoboCop was it was a bit sort of cheesy and a bit like the way their vision of the future was sort of, it wasn't perfect. It was a bit rough around the edges, and it looks like they've tried to keep that in the trailer, and that's my one little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel.
I'm with you there. I mean, I will still check it out, but with very cautious nature.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's just odd that you've got this film is coming out and it's going to be, I'm guessing, it sounds like a 12 in the UK, I'm going to guess PG-13 over here. Yeah. And then, so you're going to get the kids seeing it, at which point their parents are probably going to say, oh, that wasn't as good as the original. And then these kids aren't allowed to see the original because it's much higher rating. So, I mean, obviously that doesn't stop the majority of young people from seeing it. But still, it's one of those things of, here's something which may or may not be as good as the original, and we're not going to let you see the original for another 7 years.
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about here is what we call the total recall syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump ahead real quick. Vampire Academy, I don't think we need to talk any more about that than just mentioning it. Apparently someone heard that vampires were big 8 years ago, so still trying to cash in on that.
I just saw a trailer for that at the beginning of Thor, and I saw a poster for it and thought, this could be good. I saw the trailer for it and thought, this isn't going to be good.
And on to more Transformers 4.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There it is.
Age of Extinction, which I am still waiting on the franchise to become extinct.
Wait a second. Does that... either that means that they're going to attempt to exterminate the entire human race, or they're going back in time to the dinosaurs.
I only hope they're targeting Michael Bay, but I doubt it since he's at the helm. And then, along those same lines, I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, what?
Again by Michael Bay.
That's also Michael. Well, he's not directing that
Alien
one.
Turtles.
Sorry,
Yes.
Teenage Alien.
Teenage Alien, yes, because they're no longer mutants, and I would just like to say this, Michael Bay, stop fucking with my childhood.
Oh, Michael Bay. Oh, give it to him between the eyes.
Stop ruining the things I love, but... Yeah.
By the way, for more Michael Bay hate, please do listen to our previous episode.
any of them are good. I try to throw it in there once or twice an episode. It's going to be a travesty across the board, I think. Sorry if you gentlemen are on board for that, but
no, not at all. I mean, excuse the pun, but he's very much alienated the entire. The people that he guaranteed to go and see that film, he's managed to just abolish with one fell swoop of changing the storyline of making them alien. And he's thinking, doesn't even make sense. He's not directing that one. I know. I think he's just funding it, or he's just the big man in the sky for that one. But the Transformers 4 again, I don't think we need. He obviously claims and says in interviews he's going a different angle. It's going to be a whole different thing. But we've seen it all before, and and I don't know. It's just I'm kind of interested to see it just because I kind of want to be proven right. But I also don't want to pay my money to go and see it like I did with the other three.
Did you see the most recent? Was that just called TMNT or?
Yes.
No, I didn't even bother with that.
Yeah,
one.
I didn't either. I want the guys in the suits, and that's
I'm with you, man. The Turtles are my generation. I grew up watching that show and watching those films. In fact, I think the first film was like the first film I saw at the cinema. So for me, it's like you're dealing with something very close to my heart.
Exactly,
and you want to remake that film.
Oh, yes, I have one on here, but I saw that Paul had it written down, so I will chime in whenever he brings that up. So go right ahead, Paul.
All right, well, I've only got a few films on here because, to be honest, most of the other films that I looked up, I'm just kind of meh about. But these are the ones that I'm just not looking forward to and also slightly annoyed that they're coming out in the first place. Paranormal Activity 4 and 5.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
Agreed.
Those ghosts just will not go away.
I know. Isn't it the same bloody ghost or whatever? It's the same thing through multiple families and films. It's like no one learns.
Get a hobby, ghost.
And it's one of those things of, I saw the first film and I thought, wow, that was boring. And then everyone else is like, wow, this is really scary. No, it isn't. Shut up, you know nothing.
Yes, I'm also on record as being very fond of found footage and,
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Of course
sarcastically, Brian said.
Blair Witch Project was probably the only film to do it well, and that's because it was the first film to do it.
Yeah,
and then everyone just tried to copy it.
And it's still trying to do that.
Yeah, and so it's like, we don't need any more Paranormal Activities.
Well, as long as they make $1, they're going to keep coming.
Yes,
so.
Unfortunately.
Yep.
The problem, that's the biggest problem. So cheap to make, and the ticket prices are so high that you only need to say 100 people go and see it, and they made their money back already.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, we I don't think we need these films anymore.
Yeah. Meanwhile, films like World's End, there's films we want more of, and things like this. So it's a bit like that message of trying to get people to buy the right films and buy the good product and watch out for these dodgy sort of rehashings and
lazy. Yeah,
lazy. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's lazy cinematic entrepreneurship.
I've got a few that I want to jump in with. I don't know if have you got some as well?
Everything's been covered on my list already, so just whack away, man.
Well, the only ones I wanted to mention was the Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, which any other year I wouldn't have had any opinions of it. It's only because I felt this time last year, I remember sitting in this, in this position, talking to Byron, talking about how this film Oblivion sounded really, really good, really interesting, and I felt let down, but I know a lot of people really liked it. So if you guys are for it, then apologies, but I was let down by that film, and I just read a quick synopsis of this new one coming out in June with Tom Cruise, Edge of Tomorrow, which is another sci-fi thing where he's I can't even remember the plot, but it just sounds like Oblivion again, with a slightly different name. And I just think it sounds like Tom Cruise is getting more and more like a child, going, "I want to do this, I want to do this film," blah blah blah, and I just don't think they're any good anymore. I don't know what you guys feel, but it just didn't really whet my appetite.
No, I get that. I think Tom Cruise is falling into the same thing. It's almost like the Keanu Reeves type thing where he's end up being the same thing again and again and again and again.
You sparked a name in me, and I hope I don't. He's one of your countrymen, so hopefully I don't offend you too much. But I think it's the road that, unfortunately, Jason Statham has gone down.
I agree with that.
A very talented actor, in my opinion, and he
talented,
just seems to take whatever action dretch comes along. Some good, some bad, in my opinion.
I mean, I literally just saw a trailer a few minutes before we started for the new one, which I think is called Homefront or something, which is written and directed by Sylvester Stallone, but not starring. And Jason Statham plays the lead role, and James Franco's playing the villain. And it actually looked interesting, but again, the problem with Jason Statham is he's just become a little bit too predictable now. There was a time when I liked all his films. I enjoyed watching the new Jason Statham film, like Transporter 1, but then it all got a bit too. Oh, it's Transporter 16. It's it's a bit too predictable.
The Jason, he's the Seagal or the Norris of today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I brought up Keanu Reeves there. That's one I'm not looking forward to, even though it is this year. 47 Ronin, with Keanu Reeves as the main character. I'm sorry, no.
So if I'm going to see a White Samurai, I'm actually going to go back to Tom Cruise and see The Last Samurai.
Oh, there you go.
That's true. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling that one. The other one I wanted to mention was, and I don't know much about it, but this Noah film with Russell Crowe. I just don't.
Oh yeah.
They label it as a biblical epic, and I'm not sure if that's.
He's not singing in this, correct? Please tell me he won't be at least singing.
I fucking well hope not.
God, no, it's beautiful.
I've taken all I can of that, so.
Yeah.
The one problem, the biggest problem I had with that film was I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, it's another biblical film. They're going with the story. Emma Watson, what the hell are you doing?
I know, man. I mean, it's a shame, isn't it, when you see these. Because everyone banged on about her role in This Is the End, but I didn't really think all that of. I liked the film, but I didn't think she needs to be in it. And I think it's a shame when these childhood stars start getting desperate and start just taking kind of anything, when they could have anything, really.
I saw an interview and it said they did go to Daniel Radcliffe first and he couldn't do it. And so it's almost like, did they then just decide to go through the Harry Potter list?
Yeah, Rupert Grint was third, obviously.
What's Rickman doing these days? All
right.
Oh, man.
But yeah, Byron, have you got any that you're dreading?
All of mine have now been covered.
Well, I've got one or two more that I was just going to say. Obviously, following in the footsteps of every single teen novel being made into a film, you've got Divergent now coming out, which is basically The Hunger Games or Twilight or insert young adult book here made into a film a couple of years later than it really was to catch that trend. It's just another teeny bopper film. We don't need these, really.
No, but it'll make 120 million its opening weekend, and you know it.
Yeah. It will sell big time.
I wrote down on here Need for Speed. Despite the fact that it does star Jesse Pinkman as the main character, I don't know how this is going to come out. I know people.
Wait, it stars Jesse Pinkman or Aaron Paul?
Well, I'm hoping it stars Jesse Pinkman, but probably it's just going to be Aaron Paul.
Okay. I wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, but I know that people that don't play games are going to say, oh, it's another Fast and Furious. People that do play games are going to say this isn't as good as the game. So it's really a losing battle on both sides, I think.
I agree.
Maybe they should have gone with Grand Theft Auto.
There we go. Yeah, make the film. Well, they don't need to make a film with Grand Theft Auto. Have you ever played any of the recent Grand Theft Autos? You're playing a film at this point.
I suppose.
That's true, yeah. I wanted to ask what everyone's opinion on Godzilla was. I spoke to Byron briefly, but Byron, you're not sure yet, are you?
No.
About this film. I'm remaining positive because I hope that they won't think. They won't make the same mistake twice, and they go, right, we made the mistake back in '97. Let's make it properly. Godzilla's a good story to tell, like Pacific Rim. Big mutant things. Create great cinematic experiences.
But Jesus Christ, this is like a trip to Hooters. You go there, you know exactly what you're going to see.
What are your guys' views?
You expect no more, no less. Yeah.
What are your views on Godzilla?
I am optimistic about it because. Pretty much solely because of Pacific Rim. You got to see giant monsters well done. And I hear from everything I've seen and read about this film that they're going with the more softly approach than that's a lot of fish.
That's a lot of fish.
So, I think it could be good, but I'm not going to put any judgment down until I see the first full trailer for it.
I agree.
Then I'll go with that. And I do think Brian wanted to bring up, is it I, Frankenstein?
It is I, Frankenstein. I wanted to get your gentlemen's thoughts on that. It was something that... the moment I started, the trailer started, I forget in which film it was, but I started to get intrigued, and then I just tuned out 20 seconds into the trailer. This just looks like utter shit.
I'm willing to see it. Maybe I'll wait until it's on Netflix or the DVD rental thing.
But they're going again with calling him Frankenstein when that is... I'm so sick of that, right?
They do state at the beginning of the trailer that he took his creator's name.
Okay.
That's why Frankenstein.
That's how they're getting out of that. Fine.
Yes, I know.
One line of dialogue. Very clever.
It is a real cheat with this character.
Yeah.
But I think that it could be... This will be one of those films that's just sort of sit back, tune out, and you're just going to get a sci-fi action type thing. And then you finish it, you'll have no real opinions one way or the other, unless you're Brian, in which case you'll hate it. So,
it's possible. I mean, on IMDb, the first two lines of the description are as follows. Frankenstein's creature finds himself caught in an all-out, centuries-old war between two immortal clans. I mean, what the hell does that remind you of? God.
Yeah, I had to say it's not exactly the most original story ever told. But
Has anyone told them that?
Apparently not. Okay.
There was just a couple more I wanted to mention that I think I'm kind of more excited about than dreading, but they have potential to very much let me down. Just before we move on, one was the Expendables 3, which I'm surprised you didn't mention, Byron, because you're all about the Expendables.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the Expendables as much as the next man.
I think the Expendables 3 has the potential to be absolutely awful. Because
there's always that potential. Yeah,
yeah.
Because it could potentially be one film too many. I think the second film just about got away with it because it was, a bit shit but still enjoyable at the same time. And if they go one step more, then it could become just too shit. I hope they don't, because I enjoyed the first two, but it does have the potential to be a letdown. The other one I wanted to ask everyone's opinion on was the new Jack Ryan, which comes out quite soon, actually.
I almost wrote that one down
January.
myself. Yeah.
I don't know too much about it myself. I'm not exactly.
Yeah, I was another one on the fence about, so it didn't go in the good or the bad. It's kind of in the maybe pile right now.
Yeah.
I just know that I'm a big fan of the Harrison Fords and even the Hunt for Red October, the original, and I just hope they don't sort of. I hope they keep the classiness of the Tom Clancy and not make it too Hollywood.
Who's the lead in that?
Chris Pine, who was Kirk in the Star Trek.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's good in what I've seen him in, so it'll be interesting to see.
I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by it, but
Yeah.
I need more to form an opinion, I suppose.
Again, they got a great cast behind them, but I hope they keep the story sort of true, and it's not just sort of based on one of the old stories, and actually they keep what's good about it,
Yeah, I'd welcome that. And I like a good bit of really good old-fashioned espionage and storytelling like that. I don't need an explosion every 5 minutes, so...
Fair enough. I mean, well, yeah, if you want that...
If you're Michael Bay, you do.
Oh, there it was.
I think this podcast should be called, sponsored by Michael Bay. His name's come up one too many times, mate.
we should actually reach out to him on the off chance that we'll get him to record this episode of Blokebusters is sponsored by Michael Bay, and then we'll just put a little explosion at the end of it. There we go.
That's a really good idea, Joe. I might even consider doing that.
He might be up for that. Yeah,
Shall we move on to our final feature?
Oh,
Yes,
we
please.
probably should at this point. I'm sure people are fed up of this listening to us.
Okay.
Go for it, Byron. You announce it.
Here we go. So the final section for the Christmas special podcast is we sat down and made a little choice of any classic movie that we would like to see remade, or even a fantasy style movie that we think maybe isn't even possible to make in the first place. And that's one thing we were talking about, is what would be a film we'd love to see redone. Bear, you had something squirreled away.
I have three that I'm going to mention.
Hang on
I
a
have three.
second.
Pick your
I
favorite.
don't think Hollywood can afford all this,
Well,
my friend.
one's a film, one's a TV program, and one's a surprise.
Okay.
The one that's the film is, and I think I'm more for this than against it, is a remake of They Live. That John Carpenter's They Live. They've been muttering about it for years, and I think
almost went with that. Yeah, wow.
I think it, especially because when I watched that film, Byron, thankfully got me onto that film. I'd never even heard of it, and he made me watch it and thought it was amazing. But the first question I said to him was, why isn't this film made now? Because of all the sort of the hidden political references and the hierarchy and everything. It would be so much more relevant now than it was back then. And I just think if it was done well under the right hands, I think that would be a fantastic remake.
Wow.
The one I wanted to see remade from a TV program, which we've mentioned once before, is V, which is the old sci-fi TV series.
Didn't they do that?
Well, they remade it into a very
mini-series,
short
wasn't it? Yeah.
mini-series that unfortunately got cancelled. And I just think because they didn't find the budget, and I just find that it was left unfinished. And I like what they did with it. They modernised it. They brought in this threat of terror to make it more modern. Terrorism and everything. And I think, again, if they had a budget and someone behind it that could... Because a lot of the reason that remake didn't work is because a lot of it was just filler. So if they just plucked out the good bits that told the good story and made a 2-hour film with the right budget, I think that would be a really, really interesting film.
You said you had a third thing as well?
Well, the third thing was, I'm hoping none of you guys have heard of this. This isn't a remake. This is actually a film that's happening. But they're making a new Rocky. which I only heard of it.
Isn't
a
it
few
called
days
Grudge
ago.
Match?
It's called Creed, and it stars Sylvester Stallone, and it's set around Apollo Creed's grandson, who's now, obviously old enough to, I'm assuming, box, and Rocky's, I'm assuming, going to be the like the new Mick, character, the trainer. I don't know what I feel about that. I don't know whether I really want
I'm
it or
quite
really.
pissed because I just bought the Blu-ray box set. Now I'll have to rebuy it.
You still got the
It's the
receipt,
final
right?
thing.
Take that back to the store.
Well, you never know. This could be one of the lovely words that we've been tossing around. This could be a reboot. And instead of Rocky, we're going to go down the Creed line.
Yeah.
Creed, Creed.
I hope not, but
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, as
Carl
of the moment,
Weathers is
there's
available
very
for
little
flashbacks,
information.
I
But, yeah, they have announced it. There's no release date. There's very little information, but apparently it is happening, and there is money behind it. So.
Okay. Did you know there is a Rocky the Musical? Anyone?
No way.
Anyone? Gentlemen from
no, didn't
Globecast?
know that one.
There is Rocky the Musical, and this is currently. You can go and watch this if you want to fly to Hamburg in Germany. This is on show right now. You can go and sit, and apparently it's supposed to be quite good. So I'm wondering if Rocky the Musical is going to come to the West End, just to see if it's. I mean, somehow they've done it. I don't know how you do boxing and they, they're singing. I don't know how they're doing
It's
it. But
going to be amazing.
I know.
It'll be amazingly weird.
some kind of vocal pugilist performance. It's very interesting. So
Well, it could be every time a punch is landed, they break into song.
I know.
That'd be, yeah.
It's actually just the one match. It just lasts for the entire length of the play because they can't stop singing.
Oh boy.
Well,
yeah.
I'm done. I'm done on my remakes anyway, so I'm going to I open the floor to someone else.
Okay. Do you guys want to have a go on this?
All right, I'll go with mine. I actually, now that you said that you want a TV show remade, I've actually got one that popped into my head, which I don't even know if anyone here will have heard of it. But anyway, the film that I want to get remade is solely because I want it to be remade so everyone will forget the original one was ever made in the first place, which is Mary Poppins. I want that original one to just go away and never have existed. And then I think if you got Emma Thompson as Mary Poppins
I knew you were going to say that.
and Hugh Laurie as Dick Van Dyke's character, I don't care who the rest of them were. I think that those two working together would be just really great to see on film, doing a remake, preferably without the singing. I mean, chances are...
That's an interesting
You
idea,
can't take the
actually,
singing
yeah.
out of Mary Poppins.
Oh, I
You
can. It is my remake. I'm taking the singing out. I will let them have Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, but that is it. That is the only song I will have in there.
I also don't think you can allow putting a real English person in as the Bert character. I think you need an American doing a ridiculous English accent.
Doing a chimney sweep accent. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing the accent that every American thinks an Englishman sounds
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Even though if you actually have them watch the film, every other English person sounds English. But everyone leaps onto Dick Van Dyke's character. It's like, this is how everyone in England sounds. I'm sure
But it's
of
because
it.
it's easily done, isn't it? It's easy to copy because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like even people in the East End of London think that is an incredibly stupid accent. I mean, it's one of those ones of the people that have the accent closest to it say we sound nothing like that. So that's mainly why I want that film to go away. I just want that accent to disappear.
It's an interesting concept.
And then the TV one that you made me think of is a really old TV show called Ripping Yarns, which was made by most of the people that were involved in Monty Python. And since they've just announced that they're getting back together, maybe an oldies version of Ripping Yarns with the Monty Python people would be kind of fun to see. And even if it wasn't them, I know that there are plenty of people out now that could do Ripping Yarns really well. And Ripping Yarn, for people that don't know, which is probably everyone.
No one knows the shows you've seen.
It was a basic thing of there was always a mystical element to it, and most of the characters were playing it completely straight, but this random thing was going on. Like, there was one guy who was the best escape artist ever, and he gets kidnapped and put in a POW camp, and he's working on escaping. And the way that the story ends up, every other member of the prisoners and the guards in this POW camp end up escaping themselves, and then he closes the gate and continues trying to build his escape devices, so he ends up being the only person not to escape from the POW camp. And then at the very end of the the show, he dies, and you see that his body escaped from his grave and ended up 6 miles down the road. So it's one of those random things of just dry humour, sort of Monty Python-esque type things in there, but with just slightly fantastical stuff. I think that's something that should come back.
Definitely sounds interesting.
Wow, okay. Right, who needs to go next?
Oh, I suppose I will, since it was alluded to about 20 minutes ago.
Yes, all right.
Paul knows what I'm about to say. We're going to go with two immortal clans as a little hint. Highlander. I want to see this rebooted. I would have Del Toro directing. I think that would be awesome. I want to see his world. And I know you guys will know this star, or hopefully. I would have good old Jaime, the Kingslayer Lannister, playing the star role.
Yeah.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau. He's got that, the pretty boy look. It's kind of the same fare, but it would allow him to be a protagonist, a straight-up protagonist, as opposed to, Jaime. But I don't know. I just think that would be very interesting.
Yeah, and I will say, Brian was having a little bit of trouble trying to recast the Sean Connery.
The Sean Connery role. I've come up with Paddy Considine. I think would be decent.
That's a really good call, actually, for that. Yeah.
And then I was saying that if he wanted someone who was like a slightly gruffer Scottish person, so I just said, you know what? Even though he's the same age, go with Billy Connolly. Get him in there. I think he would do good.
Wow, okay, yeah. Highlander.
Never saw that coming, did you?
Good call.
I didn't want to go with something, mainstream, because my feeling is if it's a great film, not that Highlander isn't, but if it's a classic for a reason. It doesn't need to be remade.
Yeah, the main reason I didn't decide to go with Casablanca is I do think it would be so much trouble that it wouldn't.
We all saw what happened with the Psycho shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
So there has to be something you're changing or something you're adding to it. Your spin,
Yeah.
Definitely. Brian, how about you?
Agreed, yeah. I was thinking about an old black and white film that was done by Alfred Hitchcock called Strangers on a Train. And I thought that could be redone one of two ways. One, in a very sort of just a very suspenseful, dramatic take on it, with actors playing it right down the line there. Or you could do it with a slight kind of black comedy feel to it. Which could be quite interesting as well, because there's a slightly humorous way of taking it, which you could do. So I thought that would facilitate a nice little remake there.
I would love to see anything actually by Hitchcock's older or lesser known stuff. I think.
Yeah, that could be good.
There was a time when they were rumouring at remaking The Birds as well, and I was really for that, and I don't know what happened. It just kind of disappeared. But I agree. Anything by Hitchcock, I think, would make a really good
Rear Window or North by Northwest. Or
I was going to say North by Northwest. I would be really interested to see a modern take on that.
Yeah,
it could definitely
one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
North by Northwest.
Well, there does seem to be a bit of an untapped gold mine that exists there, and I wonder how long before someone in Hollywood land sort of twigs on it and says, "Actually, I think we can really do something with this."
That'll be when Paranormal Activity makes money. So when that stops making money, they'll go into Hitchcock.
Now, the big question would be,
and they'll attach Michael Bay to direct.
I was going to say, let's try and imagine The Birds with Michael.
You know
Bay.
what? There wasn't enough of in The Birds. Explosions.
Yeah, every time
Exploding
a bird
birds.
dive bombs someone, it explodes.
It explodes the city
transforming
block.
Suicide
birds.
pigeons.
Yeah. and a meteor that comes down another.
I had to get one last shot in.
I mean, come on, it's such an easy target.
Well, it's almost like beating up an old man. Though.
Oh, that's just wrong.
And yet so funny.
Yes.
Especially if you imagine that old man as Michael Bay in 20 years.
Okay. I'm spent on my Michael Bay hate for one day.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps us up, for our Christmas podcast.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm really happy that we were able to do this.
As am I.
Yeah, I think we should definitely do this every now and again, touch base again, and get an opinion from the other side of the ocean in.
Absolutely.
Yes, anytime you need an American and an Englishman living in,
I am feeling a bit outnumbered, but
we're just a phone call and an ocean away. So
possibly a year in review or something in the next couple months, or or like a top 10 list or something of that sort.
Or even sort of doing an Oscar debate thing on which we think could win,
or if we give a shit about the Oscars.
Well, yeah, true. Yeah, our
saying,
own
actually,
personal
just-
Oscars. There we go. We can do our own Oscars.
Or the BAFTAs.
Yeah, our own Oscars. That's a good idea. I
was
like
just
that.
about to say that. Maybe that's what we'll do. So for the listeners, maybe we'll do our little own podcast Oscars, and we'll take control of this situation.
All right, I think that's gonna do it for us.
Yeah, I think so.
All right then, so that's the Christmas special wrapped up there. Thanks to everyone that's been listening from Blokecast and all of the guys listening from back to the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and we'll see you again for more movie review footage in the near future.
Laughter mocks the poor and you're to blame tonight. Santa, we love you, Santa. Don't you care? Why don't you ignore us, Santa? Time for good. Santa's laughter mocks the poor, a liability that taunts you every time you turn on one of your TVs, or choose the leather option or a nice Moroccan tea. Oh, Santa's laughter mocks the poor.